Thanks, everybody. Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Ricky Camilleri. For going on 4 seasons now, Robin Lord Taylor has creeped us out, made us laugh, and been incredibly entertaining as the Penguin on Fox's Gotham, which is, for my money, the best comic book show, movie, or whatever they're doing right now being made. Let's take a look at Taylor's work in tomorrow night's episode of Gotham.
You have a visitor.
Hello, Oswald. I see Arkham's treating you well.
I take it you're here to gloat.
You are correct.
And why not? I am in an insane asylum. Being pummeled by lunatics. Then again, at least I'm not a moron.
I may not be the man I once was, but I have many things that you do not have. A purpose, friends. You have neither of those. And I wanted you to see that.
No. I know you. There's something else going on. Something else brought you here.
There's nothing else. I wanted you to see how well I am doing, and I wanted to see how miserable you are. Mission accomplished.
Ed, I'm going to be out of here soon. And once I am going to wipe that smile off your face. Preferably with a chainsaw.
Now,
All right, please welcome Robin Lord Taylor.
Thanks, guys.
I started coughing there.
No.
Welcome back. Good to see you.
Thanks so much. Good to see you, too.
Congratulations on another season.
Thank you very much.
That is 4 almost down the pike. Done.
I would say like it feels like school and we're graduating, but that would mean we don't have any more seasons. So we're not graduating. We're back. We're still here.
Do you still enjoy every day that you get to go here?
I do. I mean, I work with the best people, and it's also like, as the show goes on, 4 years playing one character, like I feel like we're just scratching the surface. I feel like it gets more intricate. I understand the character more every day that I work, and thankfully, like the stuff that I'm given to do is just it's not what it's unexpected, and it's exciting, and they're really going for an emotional truth there in all of my scenes. So I feel really lucky about that. Yeah.
I also feel like it's one of the few shows where when I've interviewed people from it, they seem to actually enjoy watching themselves in it. And like people even in great movies can't watch themselves. And I think there's something about the way that it comes out a lot of times is a lot different than what you feel is on set or even what the set looks like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to like focus on like saying the right words and like and I forget what I look like. I forget that and then when I see it, I'm always surprised at how beautiful it is. I mean, I just think we have one of the most beautiful looking shows on television. When you're shooting it,
I agree with that 100%. Yeah.
And when you look after these like masters have gone through and the sound is perfected and the special effects are perfected and all of the lighting and the camera techniques, you see it all come together, and it's just I'm watching it not because of me, for my fellow actors, of course, but it's really for the genius of our amazing crew. I mean, and they're there every day for 9 months, 14 hours a day, and that they nail it like that. It's amazing. It's inspiring.
Is it the same DP on every episode?
We go between. So it's like on the even episodes, there's one DP, and on the odd episodes, there's another. So there's there's 2 of them per season.
Oftentimes TV shows have directors who step in for one episode or who are there every season maybe and do a few episodes. But how does it work with Gotham for a show that is so specifically stylized? How does a director who shows up for 1 or 2 episodes sort of know how to maintain, or do they just lean on the rest of the crew?
Well, thankfully, yes. I mean, I think I won't make anybody mad by saying that I think that every director in at least a small way relies on the crew because, again, they're there all of the time. They have such a and they have a shorthand with us as the actors. You know, it's like I know that the camera operator Gerard can tell me, you know, like he knows me so intimately now after 4 years. You know, so yeah, it makes sense for them to rely on the directors. But at the same time, again, 4 years, it's like there's a lot of homework you can do. There's a lot of, you know, you can like you learn what the visual palette is, and I know that, you know, everyone that we have come in to direct the shows, one of which being our very own Ben McKenzie. You know,
He wrote an episode,
and
right?
he wrote an episode this year and directed an episode this year as well as last year.
This guy.
That guy, right
That
there,
guy.
that guy. Yeah, he's so brilliant, and so yeah, I think it's very clear the colors in the crayon box, and you know, it's just exciting to play with them. Everyone's just so excited to be there and get dirty with the rest of us.
I wonder if it's one of those jobs in television as well as directors that directors kind of are really try to get, because there are so many crayons in the crayon box and so many fun, flamboyant things you can kind of do with
Yes,
the
and
set.
you know, and we really like, you know, and again, there's room to bring your own flair to Gotham. I mean, you know, it's like the show itself is not a stagnant thing. It's not like, you know, it's not a machine. It's an evolving being. You know, if I can get too crazy, but like it's, you know, all of us as actors and as the crew, and now we have so many repeat directors, we all like are growing and changing with each other and bringing those changes and you know, to the show, and I think it makes for a richer experience, which is why I think like every season is subsequently more strong than the previous season.
You can see that too. I think you can see that in a lot of the sort of weird quirks that are getting added to the show.
Yeah.
So like oftentimes a show will end up feeling stagnant, where that you've created a look, you've created a thing, and you just keep going with that. With Gotham, it does feel like you find weird idiosyncrasies that keep getting injected into the show. We were just talking backstage about in a previous episode, right? The siren, some weird phone sex or like video commercial that they made.
We play with all sorts of genres. Like you look at the Sirens video from that was in the last episode, I believe, and they're you know, it's its own style. That's like, it's like we took a departure from Gotham, but at the same time it fits into the world. It's like we always want to like, we want to make sure that it looks like a familiar place, but at the same time not a place that you've ever been, and we don't want it to ever feel stale. You know, it's a very, you know, Gotham City is a very complicated place, and that is where we're going for.
Were you a big sort of Batman or comic book person before Gotham?
I wasn't a comic book person per se, but I went to the original Batman movie on opening night in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Hey, oh no one's here. I was just kidding. and
Burton Batman.
Yeah, what's that?
The Burton Batman.
Yes, the Burton Batman with Jack Nicholson and Michael Keaton, and
Still
you know,
the best of the Batman.
I kind of agree. Well, Batman Returns is good too.
Oh yeah,
Anyway,
those two. Yeah.
they're all good. They're all amazing. You know, I even have a place in my heart for the Schumacher ones. Are incredible as well in their own way. You know, it's
What about Justice League?
I haven't seen Justice League,
Good
yet, but I
answer.
saw Batman versus Superman, and that movie, which I actually really appreciated in this way, in that that's like the closest I think a movie has gotten to a graphic novel experience, where I felt like it didn't have a traditional filmic narrative, you know, but at the same time it felt more like an involved like thing that's, you know, unfurling in front of you, and you don't, you know, like that was my response to that.
I've only seen the 3-hour version of that movie.
Did you go to the premiere?
No, I bought, or no, I rented it. I rented like the director's cut.
Oh, okay.
I was fascinated, and I really, really admired the first like hour and 20 minutes, because it was like, it's a very long first act, and that's such a cool idea. It's like watching Heat or something. There's so many plots unspooling, and then the last hour and a half, I was like, oh, you've lost me here.
To me, it felt, and similar to the graphic, it felt like binge watching a television show in a way. Like it felt like it had more of an evolved narrative that doesn't follow the beginning, middle, and end, you know, arc that movies generally tend to.
Absolutely. So it felt like I was watching something kind of radically different in terms of a blockbuster for the first part of the film.
Sure. Right. Yeah.
Then, you know, the Transformers thing starts happening and everything starts getting destroyed, and you're like, okay, I've got this.
Copy that.
Yeah. Tell me what it was like. So when you go into audition for your role on Gotham, did you know it was going to be Penguin? Because I'd imagine something like this was shrouded in secrecy. So what was the process like?
It was shrouded in secrecy, and then, you know, it was the untitled Warner Brothers project, and I was auditioning with a fake scene that was not in the pilot at all. And it was a scene that they had written specifically for the audition, and the character's name was Paul or something. And so...
Didn't even change the first letter.
I know, oh, right, I've never thought of that.
Paul,
His
not
name is
Penguin.
Paul Gwynn. Yeah, right. No, it was so and so you know, and I prepared for it, and then I had kind of gotten the tip off. I think it was probably the night before I went into audition what the project actually was, but at that point, you know, it was
And that you were going in for Penguin, or just
that
with
I was going in for Penguin for the Batman origin story called Gotham.
Did that change your performance at all going into the audition, or did you think to yourself like, oh, I got to perform like what I know Penguin is now?
It was one of those moments where I was like, you know, that's a bomb to drop, and then it's like, oh, should I recalibrate this? But then I was like, in my head, I was like, no, I was not supposed to know this information. So the intention was for me to bring all of my innate choices and idiosyncrasies and whatever razzmatazz I threw into that audition that I came up with. That was the point. And it turns out I was right. You know, like, I think it was because, you know, I wasn't trying to do Danny DeVito, or I wasn't even trying to do anyone else's approximation of what the Penguin is, or, you know, or even what I thought the Penguin was. I was just doing Paul in this room with this other gangster, and that made sense to me. And it turns out it was the right choice. So.
And how close was that to the sort of final character that you guys landed on when it came to actually shooting the show? Did they change it at all, or were they like, no, that is you are this character, and this character is
that was it? And I think that was the genius move of Danny Cannon and Bruno Heller, is that they didn't want anyone to try and recreate what came before, you know, because again, these characters aren't anything that's come before. Like, they are, like, I do play the Penguin, but this is Penguin at age something, and he, you know, it wouldn't make sense to try and do, like, eventually, sure, he'll become whatever he becomes, but this is someone we've never ever seen before, and that was their intent, and it was definitely the right call, you know.
One thing that I was surprised by when we were in the green room talking about the Sirens video is that it's very rare that actors come in for shows that they're in, that they've been on for a few years, and can reference scenes that they weren't a part of, and are excited about them.
Right.
That means that you watch the show on your own and love it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I don't watch the show. I love the show. I mean, I also have to take a
like
little.
You were gonna go. I don't know if I love. No, I love.
That is so not right. I mean, I love the show and I work with the best people, but at the same time, you know, it's like I get worried about getting too much in my head. So if I see too much of myself, then I worry that it'll muddy the waters. But at the same time, it's like we are there. We just had our last table read of the season, and we still do them every episode. All of the cast gets together, or whoever gets together, and we read through the episodes together. And so then we're there, and I can know what's happening to Barbara and to Selena and to Tabitha and to whomever else, Enigma and la la la. And it's a, you know, it makes us feel like we're in the same boat, even though we may never see each other on set ever, you know, if our storylines don't intersect.
Yeah. Who do you not see? Who do you wish you saw more?
I wish I saw Alfred more, or Sean. Sean and I are, like, he's one of my favorite people to work with, and yet we never have storylines together, and we have the same birthday. So, I mean, you know, it was just meant to be, but not at the same time.
What was it like getting directed by Ben?
It was incredible. Unfortunately, I wasn't directed this season by Ben. It was last season when I was directed by him. But, you know, again, it was what I was just speaking to. Like, he has such a shorthand with us and such a respect for all of the actors on the show that when, like, he could just look at me or just be like, you know, I wanted a little, and do something weird, and I'd be like, I know exactly what you want, you know, and then it's right there. You know, it was really awesome. And I think, like, he's such a leader. He's such an innate leader, and it's such a perfect role for him. I mean, it really is just, it's just kismet that this is all working out this way. And then to have him in the director's seat, you know, it feels it feels extra special because it feels like someone who's really close to me is taking care of all of us. So yeah.
Is there any? Do you ever want to direct or get in the writers' room, or are you kind of
People
like
have been
I'm just
asking
happy
me
to have
this.
I'm just happy to be on a show.
It's more that,
Yeah.
but and I'm also like
Hey man, I got 4 seasons, 22 episodes. I'm good.
yeah, and I don't know if anyone wants me to be directing per se, but no, I mean, it would be an amazing opportunity, and I feel like I could get there someday. But I mean, I'm sort of like I'm just observing and learning as we go, and not putting myself in any sort of time crunch where that's concerned. You know?
What's been your favorite part of playing Penguin?
My favorite part of playing Penguin would be it's a lot. He just gets to he goes in one scene, he can go through the entire range of human emotion, and it's written in this operatic sense where it's like the scene starts and he's on top of the world and he's like screaming to everybody about it. He's king of Gotham or whatever, and then someone will walk in and be like, this happened, and then it's all down the toilet. And then so it's like to play those sort of emotional arcs is just, it feels like, again, it feels operatic, it feels like an aria, it feels like I'm there like sort of like
Very villain-esque.
writing this, yeah, exactly, and writing this emotional wave, you know. I think that's the most satisfying thing. Because again, in one scene I can go from laughing to losing everything, and it's like that's what you want. That's the juicy stuff as an actor that you look forward to.
Yeah, especially for television as well. Like
Right? Yeah, totally. And and it's funny too on our show, in acting classes and on camera classes or whatever. There's this idea that it's always be smaller. Smaller is better for TV.
Not for Penguin.
That's the thing. Is that, and somehow, thankfully for me, like being a theater person, like, I landed in a show where that's all encouraged. It's like, like every director is like, no, more. And I'm like, I'll come up and I'll be like, I don't know. I think like maybe right here I should maybe like pull back a little bit because we've seen a lot of Penguin like losing his shit and stuff, and they'll be like, no, lean into it, which is it's.
So
exciting.
what's it like? You were saying in between seasons you've done a couple of small independent films.
Yes.
What has it been like pulling it back for those?
It's been incredibly eye-opening but also equally rewarding because it's sort of like it's going. I've been lucky in that all of my independent film experiences since Gotham have been pretty much diametrically opposed to what Gotham is. Whereas Gotham is like, we are shooting an action film, like giant budget action film all day long for 9 months. And oftentimes that means we have 3 cameras on set, and your performance is limited to where the camera can see you, and everything is precise. It's like, I look here and then I look here, and it's like everything is orchestrated and precise like a clock. And then you go on to an independent film where it's like, I don't even know where the camera is, and that's encouraged, where it's just like live.
You don't have time to pull focus.
Yeah, exactly, right. We'll
thing.
figure it out. Just go and do your thing, and it's supposed to be messy, and and I feel like that I crave that sort of experience only because it's just so different from what I have here at Gotham. But putting them both together has been the most amazing lesson in terms of acting in this medium. I just feel so fortunate,
Do you miss getting to do theater? I'd imagine you don't have time to like mount the show.
I do. I really, really miss it. I miss the intimacy, and I just saw Hello Dolly for the 3rd time on Broadway. And I was sitting. So I went and I saw Bette, and she's amazing, and it's one of the best shows. And then I went and I saw Bernadette, and my friend Victor Garber is just incredible. And then I went because my mom came to town, and I was like, well, you have to come. Let's go again. And so we went, and I was watching it, and I was just like, it's amazing because, and Bernadette, I believe, spoke about this in an interview recently where she was talking about how like every performance is a special event that's just for the audience, and it's just between the audience and me and the rest of the actors, and that's all it will ever be. And there's something so pure about that I'm craving, that I want to get back to in a way. Like it's not about as much as I'm having fun today, it's not about like talking about the thing, and it's not about like, social media or any of that. It's just a pure moment where you put something out into the world and you send it out there, and then you go home and you have your life. And it's not, I think there's just something special about that.
But then there's also learning from that moment. Like I went to a show just the other night, and it was like the third night of previews. I was very excited. My favorite playwright. I was super excited about it. It didn't land for me. And I read the play and I loved the play, but it didn't land. And when it was over, it was like, yeah, that didn't land because it's in previews. There's something missing that they're going to have to calibrate in the next couple of weeks before opening. So that's this idea that like that moment was just for.
But isn't that
this
special?
audience.
Isn't that something? Like, did you talk to somebody
It made me
want to
go see. Oh, I talked to the person that I was with about it the whole time. It made me want to go see it again to see if they would nail something. But you're kind of right. That. Even though it wasn't my favorite performance, that was solely just for this small audience.
Exactly, and it's something that's it's a living, breathing thing that's a work in progress. The show that you see the third night of previews, and then the show you see closing night. I mean, it's a mile of difference. But who's to say which is the better night? I mean, you'll never know. You know what I mean? Like that's the special, exciting thing about theater that I do miss, and hopefully we'll get back to.
What is the show that your dream show?
My dream show. I mean,
play show.
It's I tend to like lean into Shakespeare and but and I want to say I really do want to say Angels in America, but I feel bad saying it because it's happening and I'm not in it, so great. But like no, but like it would be something like I don't know. I generally I would say something like Shakespeare just because I want to prove to myself that I can do it. I've never done it.
It's such a drastic difference too than from what you've been doing for 4 years.
But is it really? Like that's the thing, is that at the same time like I'm like I feel like I've been given this amazing vocabulary doing these scenes which feel like I'm been in a 4-year-long Greek tragedy. You know what I mean? Because he's lost everything and he gains everything. And it's like, it's the highest of the highs and the lowest of the lows every episode. There's no in between. He's either about to die or he's going to kill someone. And that's basically every scene that I'm in, And what more perfect, like that is training for something like Shakespeare or Greek drama or any sort of tragedy, And that's where I would like to see myself. But also just to be like, yeah, an American can do Shakespeare too. Gosh darn.
Let's get some questions from our audience. What do we got here? Right here. Hey.
Hi.
Hi.
Do you feel more pressure as an actor when performing in front of a camera or in front of an audience, like you did last December for the Christmas concert of Michael Cerveris and the Loose Cattle? By the way, I love the Christmas hat dance you did.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Yeah, I did a Michael Cerveris played Professor Pig on our show this season, and he's a Tony Award-winning actor, and he's incredible. And he has a band called Loose Cattle. They're incredible, and they invited me to do their Christmas concert, and I did a song, and I've never sung in front of public before, so that was exciting. And at this point, in terms of like being more nervous in front of an audience or film, I would say it's probably film, because like even right now I'm. You're nervous because it's something that's now being on for all time. Being on film means immortalizing it forever, whereas like being on stage, I guess it kind of means it now that people have phones. But for the most part, there feels like more of like an immediacy. So I feel like I'm much more like nervous when it's film and it's like, oh, this is for forever. Yeah, it's a lot of pressure.
Next question. Hi.
Hi.
You're great, by the way. Amazing.
Thank you.
I stutter, so bear
No.
with me. Did you read any of the comic books to prepare for this role? And how evil is Penguin going to get?
Going to get okay. I read one. There was one comic book. I read a couple. Dark Knight, Year One. I read that, Batman Year One, and then I read Pain and Prejudice, which is a Penguin story, and that one really informed a lot of what this character is. That's where I learned about his past as a bullied kid and all of that, and that was very informative to me. And in terms of how evil Penguin is going to get, this is the story about how someone who started off as at least a fraction of a human being becomes a full monster with zero humanity. So I talk a lot about how, I'm always trying to find the humanity in Oswald and the empathy there. But ideally for the last episode, he is bereft of all empathy, and he is the worst you will ever see him. And hopefully no one will ever say to me again by the end of this show, oh my gosh, he's so bad, but I love him. You know, this isn't, you know, I appreciate that, you know, as the process goes along, because that is intentional. But by the end, you know, we're getting to a place where this is, we're telling the story of how someone, you know, becomes pure evil. And so by the end, he'll be there, you know.
How many is there an end number of seasons planned?
I don't believe so.
Oh, okay.
We have no idea. Everyone, please keep watching. You know, it's like we're about to wrap season 4. We'd like another one. Yeah, we have no idea, but you know, yeah, I don't know. So in a way, it's like we rely with on the storytellers or the show writers to incorporate, you know, these elements, these bigger elements as we go along, and yeah, so we'll see.
One more question. What do we got? Oh, right here.
Hi.
Hi, Robin. It's nice to see you. And
Yes.
well, first of all, I will actually everyone would like to know what your skincare routine is, because they all say that you're glowing and that you never age. And second of all, for that scene with Oswald and Martine with Oswald blowing, when you first read that scene where Oswald was supposed to blow up Martine, like, what was your first reaction to it? Did you believe that Oswald would actually blow him up? And will we see Oswald and Martine together again?
Will we see Oswald and Martine together yet? I don't know about that, because again, like, the lesson that Oswald is learning is that to care about someone in Gotham City is to be vulnerable. And it's been drummed into him every year about how, like, you know, everyone he cares about, every single person ends up dead. And that's and it's because he's a mark. Like, people, that's how people get to him. And so I don't know if Martine will ever come back into his life. If he knows better, he won't, because again, it's just to put himself in danger. But yeah, and so when I read that he was getting blown up, I never believed for a second that Oswald would let that happen. Like, I knew that, you know, I knew there was a greater plan, you know, in place for that. And then the first part was my skincare routine, which is. Her name is Erica, and she's amazing, and she's like back behind the curtain over there. That's all I'll say about that.
Robin, congrats on season 4.
Thank you
You're
so
wrapping up
much.
right now, and you got a big episode coming tomorrow night.
Yes, tomorrow night. I've been saying today that it's one of the most intense scenes I've ever done, and to work with Cameron Monaghan is an absolute delight and a pleasure. And it's been really, and it's fun because we both play emotionally destroyed people. And so on set, you can imagine behind the scenes, it's really a blast.
Everybody give it up for Robin. Let's hear it.
Thank you.